Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about cultural differences, but from a slightly different angle. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my view of the seasons of life in France versus the seasons of life in the United States. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Patricia Brooks, and I am an American expat living in the south of France, and I help people who are ready to start the next chapters of their lives living in a foreign country find the confidence and courage to do that. And on this channel, I talk about living in France, moving abroad, and how to tap into that power you have within so that you can live the kind of life you know you were meant to live. So if that sounds like something that speaks to you, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so that you will be alerted anytime that I go live. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about the seasons of life. As we live our lives and as we get older, we see patterns in life, and we can start to get attached to certain traditions that happen throughout the year. And we can even start to get excited about those traditions. Well, I am filming this on May 19th, and this is graduation day for Mount Holyoke College. And I could be in South Hadley, Massachusetts, where my university is located, enjoying my 35th university reunion. But I am not. I chose not to for several different reasons. But this time of year, May and June, evoke something in me, this feeling of accomplishment. And in the United States, graduations are happening in every town across the United States. There are ceremonies, there are graduation parties, there are graduation cards, there are graduation gifts. There is so much excitement in the air because of this big accomplishment that people who have decided to do the work to get their high school diploma or their college degrees or their master's degrees. And here in France, there is not that air of excitement or energy because the school year is coming to a close. There is not a celebratory feeling in the air. And that is something that I started to notice maybe 2 or 3 years ago. That is like, wait a minute, there's something a little bit off. It's May, but it doesn't necessarily feel exactly like May. And so for whatever reason, France does not seem to have these graduation ceremonies where people are called up on stage to collect their diplomas for their hard work. Now, I may be mistaken, and if I am, please let me know, but I have not seen any indication that there are or that they exist in abundance. So that is something that feels really different to me. And, cultural differences and culture shocks, you kind of think about, you get to a country and it jolts you. But this was something that I recognized over a period of time, right? Because when I first moved to France, everything was new and exciting, and I didn't necessarily have time to think about, oh, wait a minute, something's a little bit off here. I think it was really hitting home this year because I chose not to go back to my alma mater and celebrate my 35th anniversary of graduating. And so I think it really has hit home for me right now. Let me know in the comments if you have been to a graduation in France or if graduations do exist here. I think that you could lump in prom season as well. Proms are these dances that happen in high school, junior prom, senior prom, and you get a nice prom gown and you go out to dinner and you have a prom date who has a tuxedo. And it's this big event in high school. And that's something that goes along, I think, with graduation season is like first there's prom, then there's graduation. And it really creates a sense of closure and connection with the people that you have gone to school with. And so Definitely a different feel in the air this time of year. All right, so that's the first season that feels different to me. The second season that feels different to me is the fall, because when I was in the US, I got accustomed to American football. And that was because I played the flute in my high school marching band, which meant that every Friday night or sometimes on Saturdays during the day, I had to go to a football game because I was part of the halftime show or the opening show as a member of the marching band. And so for 4 years, football season got ingrained in me. And graduate and football season is a big deal in the US just in general. So it's easy to remain caught up in that. Now, here in France, soccer is the big deal, and I have not got pulled into that craze, not yet, just because my friends aren't really into that. So I haven't really, that has not been something that I've experienced. But in the US, come end of August, beginning of September, it's football season. It's football season in high schools, at universities, and in the National Football League, at the professional level. And so there is another kind of air of excitement. Oh, yes, we get to go and cheer on our favorite teams and see who wins. And that lasts from September to December timeframe. And then there are the playoffs. And then come February, there is the Super Bowl. And so that season is so different. When I went back to the US in the fall of 2022, I was reminded that, oh yeah, this was kind of fun. And it's not something that I get to participate in, living in France. Now, this is not to say that France is not gung-ho about its sports. We've got football, we've got rugby. It's just to say that I have not gotten pulled into that. So since I haven't gotten pulled into soccer season here, I really don't understand when that is, when the playoffs are, when the final game is. And so that leaves a little bit of a void for me that I am not involved in American football. All right. So that is another season that feels a little bit different when it rolls around. And the final season I want to talk about is school season. Now, pretty much in the US and in France, the school seasons seem to be pretty similar, starting in September for most schools, sometimes end of August in the United States, and going through June. And so on that level, it's very, very similar. But there are some differences within the school years. So in the United States, we tend to go for long blocks of time without having a break. In the fall, we might have some holidays that come up, a day here, a day there, but there's Thanksgiving, so you get that Thursday and Friday off, but not an extended time, a week or even 2 weeks off. It's not until you get to Christmas that you get that week or 2 week break. Here in France, however, you start school in the beginning of September. 6 weeks later, there is a school vacation that lasts 2 weeks. And then they start school back up again, go for another 6 weeks. That's perfect timing for the winter holidays, the Christmas holidays. And then they get another couple of weeks off. And then turning to the spring term, in the United States, we still go for a long period of time, but we do have a week holiday around Easter. Now, that could be the week before Easter, or it could be the week after Easter, depending on what state you live in, depending on what county you live within that state. And so there doesn't seem to be that uniformity that there seems to be here in France. And that could happen earlier or later, depending on when Easter falls. But again, in the spring, there is 6 weeks of classes, 2 weeks off. 6 more weeks of classes, 2 weeks off. And that is a big difference, I think, in the school season itself. So you might be asking, okay, Patricia, so the schools take 2 weeks of a break after 6 weeks of going. to school. How does that impact you? Well, it does, in fact. I take part in several activities in town, and the week before a school vacation, somebody always raises their hands and says, "Oh, will we be meeting over the next 2 weeks?" And I ask myself, well, why wouldn't we? We're not in school. We're not a part of the school system. But because the people that I am doing these activities with have family and they might like to participate in activities with their family, they might like to take the school break as well. And so if there's not enough people to attend the activity, Qigong or my Spanish classes, then the teacher can say, yeah, we're not going to be meeting for the next 2 weeks because we just don't have critical mass, right? And so that is how these breaks impact me. And in the beginning, I was really confounded, but now sometimes I do like to take advantage of having a week, sometimes both weeks off for these school holidays. Another way that the school season is different is that the school week is different. At least it is in my town. So kids go to school, go to elementary school, junior high school, Monday, Tuesday, then they're off on Wednesday, and then they go Thursday, Friday. And that surprised me. I was here maybe for a year and a half when I was at the grocery store on a Wednesday. Now, I typically like to go to the grocery store at lunchtime to avoid the crowds because lunchtime is lunchtime. It's not a time to run errands. It's a time to sit down and eat lunch, right? But this Wednesday, I had chosen to go not at lunchtime. So there were people in the grocery store. And there were adults in the grocery store, but there were children as well. There were children with their parents, but there were also adolescent children who were just in the store buying things, right? And I thought, it's Wednesday. Don't these kids go to school? Come to find out that Wednesdays are days off here in my town, and I think in other towns across France. So that is another difference. In the United States, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We got school. All right. So those are 3 seasons that feel different to me here in France. And different, not necessarily bad, but different in the fact that it feels like maybe there's something a little bit off, something missing. All right. Which one of these were you surprised to hear about? Let me know in the comments. All right. So that is all I have for you today. If you are planning a move abroad, but you're not really quite sure where you are in your process and you're feeling a little bit stuck because you don't know what direction to go in, then I have something for you. It's called a Pathfinder, and it is a resource to help you to identify where you are on your move abroad path and what your next steps are depending on where you are in that path. All right. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description of this video, or you can go to thecouragecatalyst.com/Pathfinder and download that today and find out where you are and take advantage of the tools and resources that I have in this guide. All right. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.